All right, everyone. Well, you know, this great conversation on to chat with old and new friends who are here. So we'll gonna have plenty of time during lunch and a couple breaks in the afternoon. Hopefully, continue these great discussions. Uh, well, briefly, this is going to be the time here where you're going to hear one of our great speakers from Paul Smith College about climate change and Adirondack forest. Unfortunately, he got ill and could not attend today. So we are doing a little bit of a quick shift, and lucky enough to be able to have myself go over a critical new report called the New York Climate Impacts Assessment Report. What we got, and then Christopher Williams, who is the program director for the Capital Region PRISM, right across the border, right? And we do a ton of work as generously stepped up, and we'll talk about managing forests or climate health, thinking about those aspects about it. So I apologize for all those people who came to see John Albert. You can send him an email. Hopefully, we'll get him another time on a webinar or something. Share. Thanks. It's a great resource. Completely do it. Paul Smith's conference. Raise your hand if you have seen the New York State Climate Impacts and Assessment Report. Couple of Peter out there, and a couple people. So this is a relatively new report that came out this year, and in New York, you know, we are some of the leaders in trying to have some of the most ambitious climate goals, and part of that is understanding the impacts of climate change and why we need to do the hard work that we are investing in at the state. And this is a great resource for both our region and all across the state. So it has a lot of interesting features in it. It has a couple features that are really specific to the work that APIPP and PRISM are doing. So I wanted to kind of go through it and highlight it. It's a great thing that different people can use, and you can take parts of it and put it in the presentations. It's something that I can easily pull up and view with you on their website. So if you just Google New York State Climate Impacts Assessment and go to New York nysclimateimpacts.org, you can go here and see all the materials. And it's kind of broken down into a couple parts where you can either explore the assessment, you can look at some of the impacts that it's going to have on people, and especially looking at climate equity and justice, which is critical important. But a lot of it has a really great data on the best models and the best projections that we have for New York's changing climate. So I want to look at it and highlight a few things that I'm sure some of you will have direct experience with. Well, there's actually some things that people here on this link are even working on that was highlighted at the state level. So I think that shows some great things that we're doing here in the Adirondack PRISM. So this is the kind of the science part, and they really broke down looking at how what's going to change with ocean conditions, rivers and lakes, looking at these extreme events like hurricanes, precipitation, and temperature. So I just wanted to focus on two of them that are very germane to our region. So this is precipitation, moving the first one. You know, we are already have experienced increases in total amount of precipitation and getting increases in both the amount of it and the intensity of rain. And so a key thing that I wanted to highlight is that from 1900 to 2022, the total annual precipitation in New York State has increased by 10% to 20%. And you can look at these charts. They break down the different regions. So the cycle one right here is Adirondack region, and then we have the Lake Champlain Valley right through here, and you can see that already, as we see in this Lake Champlain or in St. Lawrence, from that original baseline, they already are showing 2 to 4% increases to today, and that when we project out to 2050 and to 2080, you will see that our regions up here in the Northeast and the North Country are going to be some of the most impacted in New York, where we're going to have some of the highest increases. And So looking at upwards of 7 to 8% in 2050. And I know like sometimes like people say like 2050, like that's a long time away. Well, 2050 is basically another decade. So we've already been around for about 25 years. So in our next round of 25 years here, we're going to be there. So sometimes when you look back, you're like, oh wow, the future seems much farther ahead than the past does. It's just my point. So, so these are some critical things where they are going through. We have had very strong examples in our region of impacts of increased flooding, of increased precipitation on there. I know many of you in the room have been impacted by this. I think they even have a picture right down here from our friends in Newcomb in last summer that had the whole bridges washed out. If anybody was from the Long Lake area, different thing, it's incredibly scary, some of these impacts that we are seeing, not even associated with hurricane type events, that these are just very large precipitation events that are now dropping 5 to 7 inches of rain in a single rainstorm. That's just overwhelming our infrastructure. And like Bethany talked about in there before, that disturbance can create changes in our natural landscapes that invasive species are able to go through an impact. We have been documenting lots of monitoring measurements with our lake management tracker program that people in here are taking part of. And one thing that is interesting to see from our data in 2024 compared to 2023 is that we saw some impacts with Eurasian water milfoil and its abundance. Generally, it's lower abundance in many places, and also not in places that we're not really being managed. And so something, we don't know the exact reason, but these plants are responding positively and negatively to these changes in the environment. This was an example of one of these climate change things that maybe it was the high water here last year, all the sediment that got pushed into the area that covered up some of the plants, but we did see some lower abundances of invasive species in one area. So, like Bethany said, it's hard to predict. Some of these things are going to be net positives for the invasive species, and these things could be net negatives for. But overall, when we look at this report, the predictions are clear, and we are already seeing them increase precipitation, both in the amounts and individual storms and in overall totals that are coming up through there. The other thing I wanted to highlight was this temperature. As anyone who's lived here in the Adirondacks for a long time, and I showed that picture from the 50s in Saranac Lake, the amount of snow. This past year was one of our lowest snow-covered years in Tri-Lakes area. So, we are seeing strong changes to our temperatures. Already, since 1901, average temperatures in New York have increased about 2.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And, since 2000, they've been higher than any period in recorded history. And so if you look once again at these maps, taking our baseline of the 1981, the 2010 record, you can see that the Adirondacks, Lake Champlain Valley, the coolest part of New York, average temperature over the year, 40 to 44 Fahrenheit degree range. Already we are seeing increases to that. We are already above those marks. Interestingly, when you see that by 2050, we're still going to hold very steady in the Adirondacks. A lot of the work that the Nature Conservancy is doing is focused on what we call our resilient and connected lands, and we're looking at it through a lens of climate change. And one of the important things of why we are trying to protect the Adirondacks, the native species, and the do this invasive species management is because, in many ways, the Adirondack will be a climate refuge or a haven for other species or other places to be able to move to when they need to adapt to this. Like even by 2080, from here, you'll see that we increase by over 10, upwards to 12 degrees Fahrenheit predicted temperature. So that is a lot, and I love those maps that Bethany showed one from Massachusetts, and these figures right here, these were some of the for me personally, had some of the strongest impacts of just thinking about what the change in climate would be like. And so essentially what they are saying is we can take Canton, one of our North Country towns right here. So this is the baseline from 1981 to 2010. So its climate was what they were used to. Well, already this is now what the climate is pretty much like in Poland. So it's moved down to here. The red tree is the very high emissions, and the orange tree is the intermediate emission scenario. So by the 2050s, Canton is going to be like out of town, Bethlehem in Pennsylvania, under a high emission scenario. Even under kind of like a best, a best case scenario, it's going to be like Scranton, up north of Pennsylvania. And when you look at New York City here, thinking about New York City, a city that historically averaged 30 inches of snow, it is pretty rapidly already in the DC region right now. By 2050 or even 2080, we're talking about Tennessee, or worst case scenario, Southern Alabama. I mean, these are very large changes that not only we as humans, but our plants and animals are going to have to respond to. And the blink of an eye, evolutionary on the long paleoecology scale thing. So, yeah, these are some great figures. If you want to show people why we are trying to prepare and get ready for things like this, I think this people can kind of think about how different, sometimes climate change is hard for us to understand, like, what that's going to be. But if you tell somebody, like, hey, we're going to take the weather in New York City and make it more like the weather in Alabama, that's pretty clear. The other part that I think is really good about the report is that they broke it down by sector, so you can see these different areas where climate change will impact. Ecosystems is a great one where you can read summary, you can go into there, you can go into all sorts of case studies and so really in-depth areas for it. But then one that's really more useful is the explore by region. So they broke New York down into 12 different regions. And so you can click on any of them and see specific reports that they have here. Most of our PRISM is either in the Champlain Valley or in the Adirondacks. Many of the summaries that they have in here are similar, something that focus on Adirondack one. Here's a beautiful picture of Lake Placid and our region. Interesting to see that compared to the baseline, we are going to see some pretty large increases in the temperature. We've had a weather station in Lake Placid that's been one of our best in the region. And so you can see that historically, we had an average of 33 days a year below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. It's some of the really cold temperatures that helps us knock out some of those forest pests and different pathogens and keep them away. Well, by the mid-century, that's predicted to go down only to 9 to 15 days below 0 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the century, by the 2020s. Excuse me, that's going to be 9 to 15 degrees by the middle of the century. And by the end of the century, they're talking about only 2 to 11 degrees below 0. And then on the flip side of it, which probably is, more uncomfortable for us people, but also got to promote more of these southern species being able to come in. You know, the long-term record in Lake Placid is just one day per year of 90 degrees. Most houses don't even have air conditioning in the Adirondacks. We don't have this kind of infrastructure because it rarely gets that warm. That's predicted to be 6 to 16 days by mid-century, and 12 to 45 days. So basically, over a month of the year will be 90 plus degrees in the twilights and one of our coldest places, one of the few places that even has the possibility of being able to hold a Winter Olympics by the second half of the century. So, these are some serious things to think about. They also talk about ice. We are seeing big changes in the period of time that we have ice on our lakes. I work with community lake associations and communities. One of the things that they commonly tell me or some of the other lake managers in the room, they say, there's no weeds. Native weeds in the generic term. A weed to them is any plant, native or invasive, in a place they don't. Many of these are native plants. And one of the factors and things that's going on is that we are now decreasing the amount of time that ice is on these lakes. And so we are increasing the growing period for all species in there. So our lakes are becoming much warmer, especially in the fall. We're seeing these extended warm temperatures in September, even right about now in October. So that's allowing plants to grow much more, put much more resources, become much higher, both invasive and native plants. They're saying that when they looked at the records from Lower St. Regis Lake in the Adirondacks, that they're predicting to lose an additional 7 to 21 days of life century. So looking at our period now, it's changing a lot. This has a strong impact on our winter sports economy, but also our ecosystems. In here, they particularly talk a lot about the very rare and few alpine zones that we have in the Adirondacks. Very few, 175 acres that are true alpine above the tree line. Those eating systems very rare in New York, very strongly by climate change. And then the other part that I wanted to highlight is that they did case studies for different regions, and two of the case studies were very germane because they are for people right here in Greene. One, they highlighted one collaborative design and planning along the Adirondack Invasive River, and so this is showing the work that the Invasive Freshwater Center did right out here today. Sign up for their mailing list or talk to them about this, but really highlighting the work and the collaborative approach that we need to take our community to start doing things now to prepare, to adapt to climate change. So got a great story about the Invasive River watershed and looking at some of these incredible examples of where they are doing river restoration that's going to both keep people safe, going to make less likely to have flooding impacts, icing out things that negatively impact our infrastructure and our communities. So hats off to the Invasive Freshwater Center. It's great to see that the work that they are doing in the Adirondacks highlighted, featured as an example that other regions and other people may follow statewide report. And another example that's near and dear to all of us is talking about how climate change gives the advantage to hemlock woolly adelgid. We used to think that hemlock woolly adelgid, as many of you know, the small invasive pest that impacts hemlocks has been in New York for decades, but the conventional thinking was always that our cold temperatures in the Adirondacks would protect us and protect our extensive stands of hemlock trees that we have here, especially in the southeast portion of Adirondacks, well, unfortunately, we are losing that superpower. They talk to some of the researchers and different things. We need this really cold, -20, -25 degree Fahrenheit night. It used to be every single week, sometimes weeks of those temperatures. So really knock back these pets. We don't see those, especially in the southern southeast region of the Lake George area, where we are now starting to see now come through there. So they go through and talk about that. This cold tolerance is a key thing, and that recent studies have demonstrated the potential to increase. And you get a look at this map of counties and see how they have started off in the Virginia epicenter in 1951, and they've done this slow march northward, and they're continuing to do that here in the Adirondacks, where we can see here it is on a township level for this. I believe this one is from 20 to 2020, so this is already 4 years ago, and we've continued to document the spread across the Lake George watershed and the other areas on it. So this is a great example, and they even call out the Hemlock State Initiative at Cornell University and having them to coordinate the main community science efforts that we let some of the community people in this room that participated in our Forest Pest Hunters program in the Capital Region and in the Adirondacks. We'd be happy to have you help us map and see where these are, because it's in the modeling some of the great work that we're doing now. So that is a quick overview, and then I'll just say that they put a summary right on the first page. And so I think the key parts about it is that climate change is already affecting New York State, and it's projected to continue to change, to have larger impacts. And that even under a lower emission scenario, but climate change impacts across New York State are going to be. Our past efforts have already set us on a trajectory that is existing right now. So we're going to have some new tools and new strategies to deal with that. So we're going to pass it on to Kris, and he is going to talk about using our forests. I'm sorry, keep them out. Thanks, Mark. Yep. Dude, on my chair. So I was asked Billy today. I appreciate the opportunity. Funds help golf lab together. Usually after me, my contact, right, shots. You will keep track of time here. Whereabouts available. I have a lot of outcome. But I'm originally from Buffalo, New York. I was born in the snow, love the snow. I've been chasing the snow my entire life. When I was a kid, trips to the Adirondack starting. I was like, oh, I love this place. I love old tolerant trees. Somewhere along the line, I said, I'm going to shift what I'm doing to try to be different in our environment. And I would like to say that there are a lot of people in our state agencies, our partnership of conservancies that are really smart, very motivated, and they're doing great works. And New York is way ahead of the curve in a lot of other places. And I'm really proud of that. Very inspired by the secret today. We have Brian now. It's fantastic. These are really hard-working people. And you folks are here today. You are that make a difference. There are small scales that you need to do with your yard. There are local scales that you like to conserve farms or your doctor thoughts. Please keep that in mind. Do not go away. I also like that these work a lot. We've incorporated urban work into our outreach, but we're also incorporating it as partners, as practitioners, and on strategies at some level with our partners. I'm showing leadership gives thought and like I've changed my presentation 3 times in the last 2 hours. So I decided out to know about these like first. Like, oh, I'm like, yeah. So I was at this point. I'm like, you know what? I do have one side of on the show, and I think it's important because I would talk about functional ecology, right? Making changes. So benefits our ecology, and the Kris Network, great. They have this really like teach the research and they put it into time. The, the, the diagram on the left, non-native plants, that's what I usually say. Non-native plants, they didn't evolve with community, so the arthropods don't know how to use them. They like they don't have the ballparks, Polynesia. It's like, they just take up space in the United States. Basic. What we do know is that those non-native plant communities had more about colonies, not birds. Now, you're basically removing primary producers, but then when you look at functional ecology, native plants that have evolved over time, and with the PRISM, and you do not have to be a scientist to do this. And it's sorry, but like I got off birds. I can eat my first one. I'm always out there when it's crazy on some side out, so I can right always putting names. But I think he like it be that I thought it. I thought that's very here, but so I do creature like this not really sort of buff colored dogs. Well, I have this drawing in my artist. My name is Kris. There's one off my that is uh my name plants in number of pollinators, but all the words possible that it's not terrifying. I think like yeah, see like a dozen different arthropods of one plant. And I was over that borrowing. I'm like, oh, I there's nothing going on. It's very, very situation perfect. Notice that so that's the takeaway from most. What can you do here today and implement to make the ecology of your local environment more functional? Give us life today. I wanted to talk about all the forest concepts. It's been a little bit since I looked at this, but I thought it would be applicable to the Adirondacks. And this is all generalizations, and it's meant to be broadcast to you in terms of definitions and goal setting for future plan. The future is not so much what states being for various appetite, but here, based on those here, very recent, but it'll look fresh strong. Items changing. In 2030, some stuff that Brian presented, that's real. In this point, the temperature difference now from 130 is rather significant. And it's very obvious now, but that's not right. And I think those changes are going to be very rapid. So as a practitioner, trying to share information with you to make changes now. Tomorrow, 5 years, I dare to start doing now. So those are things I want to talk about during looking at creation period 5. So our climate is changing in ways that humans have never experienced before. And also was formally trained as an environmental hydrologist, being long-term carbon storage, what over those during years, like 1 year, south grounds, here, so again, yeah, the progenic sources have changed incredibly very fast. But you need to absorb that. I'd say probably yes. Study the valuable records out there. So let's take some stuff. A couple of things to consider. The higher temperatures or extreme weather events get we're not going to have climate or our creeks that will be cheap. Sorry, not. in your terms of migration, your terms of, okay, what will be the next tree forest that takes the swamp? And I think it's an opportunity for the society, lots of help that right. So these changes are impacting your forestry depth, mortality, the local tree species composition. I see all this stuff now. I get frustrated. I've done assisted migration in my old wood lot. I tried to put some fence up, but it's still completed. I am finding so far. About young others. Well, I'm already like the Saratoga Tree Nursery has $35 million upgrade. That really put New York State, the New York Forest Fire. There are people working really hard. It's exciting. Really exciting. I don't hate that for these three versions. We're on 4.0 now, and Brian was talking about that the other day. But the changes in that short amount of time, jumping fraction, fighting environment. No. So things that I don't have time to take a deep dive in, but when we're talking about resilience and healthy productive forest, forest diversity composition. Don't know these concepts for that. But diversity is really important because all of those differences limits the influence or disturbance in the environment. Those trees that together stand all well. Having an ash forest and all the ash God. This is really important. Core structure. EVH and versus multi-class and regeneration is a problem. But there are tools that tend to use and implement to solve some of the issue with your impact and find that stuff. Things of it's not enough for your real conversation or talking to your first it's been well cost documents. But there's research out there. And it's climate risks. These are things to start considering when you're doing the management planning. Incorporate these concepts into your plan. It's another quick takeaway. Just yesterday from the New York State Board of Rockfall and others, the first general trend to not die. Forest city is a really good tool to use. Help forests. The overstock product enforcement are higher moisture rates, more mutant insects, or less line their turtle, not irrigated, and then the cost of that time to deep dive, but it is something that is worth exploring. The concept or free full time. So again, Brian Bethany Lake framework, I'm trying to give you a couple of general prescripts that incorporate into your plan. How do you guys know most of these prescripts? Good. It's interesting. You pass, words pass. Oh no. And don't see things. And there's other things in serious. I like, I'll talk about the results. I really the federal task force right now are that young cars more current force us plants and those that are on the rise prevention, early detection, R&D movement. The rewards that I'll be a lot of times keep it by by the way, I still see apps on it for the 35 help you in large scraps. That's real ways. I will do hearing that they are fast life, but nature is Italian. There's all hope. Don't let things look. And on hard. The spongy was awful. Didn't need the park area. Brutal, but nature's rebounded. Sure, there was a lot of damage. But loss of their impacts well out of that. But nature has rebounded. You just might not fire such. I am aware of slightly awesome or showing us years of some angular. Now, your surface mimics sort of and courage. So a couple definitions for folks. I want to talk about adaptation process change, how we actually that healthy forests know what know if you want to like this is two other healthy change. It requires faith. A lot of times they fall plants do not so open for these plants that they thought not to yes, you want to grade it all and then that's flat. Also letting that in species the binary species take over infestations which start planting tree species off that so here's three goals that I would like to consider. Technology, recipe, this. I know it's important. There is literature out there on so goals to incorporate the land management. This is no different. Like associations, I think there's a lot of all the usual work done. Planting, inundated plants, water. Okay, I haven't died. Well, you print it. Resistance goals that are geared toward preventing changes in the surface. Resistance to be considered primary desire to negate resource by economic, political, or backlog. Yeah. I like to say that this is like, let's say, a works of trees or the goal exists. What the future is for us in case these plants available. Uh, the problem is that tree is both on if you're it's a hard battle, harmful, there's may not be able to fulfill this election goal we want to protect right now. So resilience. Goals can actually allow for some changes within the forest. If no change is going to occur, we know that we're going to have reduction in our lethal composition. But maybe if that forest didn't we have some climate friendly trees that well on the drop increase. And we might assist the propagation so that they are not up there. But these are good concepts, right? Different ways to really think about how that aspect has actually reached out and a positive outcome in our environment instead of by a species staple that are transition. Probably the most realistic goal in terms of forest management, and it's probably the most obvious and practical one. But this is where you're just going to assist what's already there to ensure its viability. Okay, that's the term there. You accept the fact that climate change, you still want to accomplish sustainable ecosystem, work with what you're doing, and build that, and incorporate that. All of these things I just prevent you in the one and it's I know writing, I know attendance is not a thing. So I'm just giving you some quick takeaways of other ways to think that there are prescriptions out there that they help a little bit positive, right? Let's find out here. Summer trees located in southern New York with local climate change. Various stuff. Is you'll talk about this stuff, but there ain't what or economic heat for energy speed, wildfire heat. Those are you can look at higher price per land. All the faults of that stuff. These are part these acid. The rise of course that dryer is start with less vulnerable, but they're thinking about that seed sourcing right. The same with trace. Are thinking about what's going to work for our forests. Multi tree versus increase resilience. Just help slip break waste. Coming against those three things. So, send that once. Hurt some of the margin. Right, and you think map down, get next. In case nuts. This is a good one, Dave. Drop. Resources out there that do have tree recommendations for climate. I think there's a lot of work that done here that academics here actually explore more trees that people select for young in future. Climate change response framework. This is me at like 5 in the morning. You can see I had to break up there. Yeah, I was a big part last night. I was dead, but I'm on a eating with ball. I'm just loving my, that was my biggest concern. How I got each time on the, yeah. So there you go. That's the. But they do have. You can see at the top, like climate change, facility, water capability, air, good results. So there are some general recommendations out there you can start drawing down. To start doing some better tree selection, as opposed to don't be like me where I'm like, oh, I'm love that co-op trees. Well, but like I'm shifting my thoughts. My thought I to ensure that what I do impact on our next function. Think how you got it. Some other things that come up with this skating, but APIPP, New York Safety Behavior, or circulating stuff, servants, that continue to serve and monitor, not just with us now, like, support efforts to identify and reconsist free widespread distribution, migration, species. I've seen properties that have low levels of non-native plants, all are dot parcel, the dot parcel. And you find a little infestation. Helping you impact that one, that plant, eating that flora parcel for decades. Right? Our animals have like bird dogs. That are speak found up are very so remote regeneration basically like small. So there are people, great people in our state that are doing the wheels are constantly moving to make happen in Dutch Park. I forget the number of things the walks found the majority forested or owned by private residents. It's unique. Outside of that, already it's G. I stole this from Maui asset, which is meant to be for such. peace in the climate and but you know, this tree's got some work in it. Got some work down there. You're at least vulnerable. I know. I'm gonna end with this. I open my time and show them take people. Let me just tell you that these forms, they use all these different. The last slide I showed you was like, whoa, no. But these forms, to me, that shows up in these trees want to do well. And when you go through the list real quick, ignore the symbols and find what trees are popping up. You look for either seed overall that do well in low dry climate. Okay, tree of heaven, so that's not native, not a good one. How about a good tree? Oaks, yeah, oaks. The reason why Molly put some of these bases in there is to stress that they also look well. They're from those lower latitudes, and it as they do well in harsher snow streams. So they're also to be problem that. But you can see, like, some are so tall trees. It doesn't quick take away, oaks are big, but bigger things in the line that's that range. It's like Brian showed that next to the diagram. So it's another way to think about things. I'm not here to be a one against, the migration. I'm just trying to offer tools so we can have all these. I'll be around most today. There's some breakdown in and the never going to trust you. It's never, yeah, well, I said everybody. The replying of visitor on this stuff wasn't so I think. But just and on oh for now I that's what so they sustainability about 2000 fields. They do have all the off programs for some course in this one for quants. If you couldn't just like for now integrated strategy yard stuff. So like one I other questions. Narrow. Yeah, other station how to right. So I think a lot of here got in the Adirondack about 25% of our forest body get hemlock. All three at good job during climate protection will no longer be primary part of our forest body. And so we tend to lose 25% of our forest body to so New Year's of action today, especially given the public and private pickup the economic. First thing you need to do is be able to control keep those through the lives very good reactions are and particular computer will be consciousness by so keeping that standing apartment and you feel that caution that is going to be your latest one. And because white scale plenty constant stripper is capable of possibilities for second, we need to be thinking about how we are going to be. I don't want a lot of things about city folks on our best version. I usually think that to look abstract. But thinking about right stand in particular, probably to do some more is this operation, like thinking about New York, like that. I think there's a community price to notice that emphasize difference that okay. Now I want to reiterate that I think it's funny. It's not that almost these part American parts great things offers rich goals. No, all more red. Got up there. A lot of resources were quite like are you looking for body like resources or like anything that will be available? Manpower, money, advice. Yeah, some of those programs are on the best outside that, but for example, with international subscription services, they sometimes offer ones that don't higher. It's not nearly $12,000, but like this the effect helps your those on board your sort of art history start taking those but better than serious but not the art not that not share them parts that you didn't learn what come over. No worries about words. Let's talk this thing. So quick things, everybody. One, if you are here for SAF credits, make sure you follow the forms registration table. Stacking credits lets you fill out the form. So they're just sitting right there if you have any questions to ask me. Second, it's like lunch. Lunch is right out the store. So we have drinks in the coolers by the registration table. There's seltzers and water up there by the snacks, coffee, and all that. There are a few seltzers out here as well. We try to spread things out. This brings a little bit up. But yeah, you just come in this way or go up that way. Either way, make your way to this room and you'll see it's barbecue food. We try our best to accommodate gluten free area and all that. I hope you enjoy it. It's Jam Dot Catering looks very nice. So thank you. Marcus, you got Jeff. We'll be meeting back here about 10 o'clock. Okay. Thank you. Oh, well, you know, that's right. No, yeah, you're close enough. Yeah, it's what I should look for. Where I can't. Oh, that's fish. Where? Something like that. Something. Right. It's not that. It's all like something you know. Yeah, alright. It's about. Alright. I like him up. Well, not that. That. There we go. No, we're out of it. Yes. Of no. I can't. Yeah. Well, it's like yeah. Tell you this. I was born so proudly. Oh, yeah, but you're up. I have to. That's much better than world. Down. Yeah. I don't finish what that's forward to. I'm sorry. I see it. I mean, you know, all of that. I start. So, I like to say I have older kids. So, I'll tell them all the convert. Yeah, fine. I don't keep bringing guys like I said. Taylor, you got to take that. So, for $7, take what's for $7. I'll be like, I bet I'm thinking left because in the world has $1. Oh my God. On 10 minutes. Yeah, you watch anywhere.